What's up, everyone? Welcome to Normal America Show. I'm your host, Rob Noor. Now, listen, once more, Boomer Tech Guy Rob struggling through uh, some technical stuff. So I know I look really dark here. I'm messing with my camera and stuff. In addition to that, this is the first time I'm streaming not through OBS. I'm actually got a trial with StreamYard, and I'm trying to stream through it to see if I like it. So things are going to be a little different today as far as the interface that I'm using. My intro is a little different there. I haven't set up one yet. So bear with me. Hopefully we don't have too many technical faux pas. The chat's not going to show up there for everyone, but that's okay because I'm gearing more towards YouTube being the platform that I sort of focus on the most. So as long as everyone is watching on YouTube, I'll be able to see the comments anyways on the side of the YouTube chat. I think it looks more professional cleaning up, not having the chat on screen there as well. But I could do things like this. Flimtalk says, the struggle is real. Yeah, it is real. It's definitely real with me. The camera looks good. Yeah, I think I got the color down. Now I'm concerned about the lighting of my background. Let me try something real quick here. I'm going to try to turn my live on air symbol on. It's probably going to mess with the auto white, but let's try it. See what happens. Let's see how the color looks. Still not bad, right? I think that lit it up a little better. So, anyways, how's the audio sound? Audio good on everything? I'm hoping. And then I finally got my second monitor hooked up. So here we are. I got, oh wow, 2 monitors finally. Great. This is the monitor for business, and all of my smut I keep on this monitor over here. Audio's good, good. So should be a good show tonight. Because it's me. Is it ever not a good show? Of course. It's fantastic shows always. We'll stall a little until we get people in here, and then we'll go ahead and jump in. One thing that I'm slightly concerned with StreamYard is yeah, my Vosh monitor. Let's keep that over there. One thing I'm slightly concerned with is I don't know if I'll get every super chat. Because I thought when I used StreamYards when I was working through the Crucible that there was a way to click the comment section so I could see that would highlight all super chats. But I'm not seeing that now. But super chats are highlighted. Oh, I hope. Thank you, Noah Northcutt. Look at this. Now I can do things like this. Look at that. It's on the screen. Who can disagree with that? I mean, that's as clear cut as it comes as far as I'm concerned. Bam. And then, then we can go the opposite way with it. We could get morons on here. Like this moron. I assume this actually is Kamala. Kamala, how are you doing? Drinking a little today, no doubt. Favorited tab on chat. Okay, I'm on chat. So let's say if I favorite this, yeah, that lets me just click the start, but we need someone to give a super chat and then I'll have a better idea. Open your pocketbook. No, you don't have to give money if you don't have it. That's okay. Yeah, I've debated Vosh several times on panels. He pretends to not know me and didn't want to debate me anymore. I stopped attempting to reach out to him after his horse smut incident. So, oh, there's HN. He's back. Slava Ukraine, he says. We don't speak your gibberish here. English is the official language. No, don't send me a super chat, Courtney. I don't need my own money. I'm up here petering around streaming. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy it thoroughly. I do. My wife's downstairs putting together furniture. We bought this end table set, so there you go. That's how my family rolls. Don't tell the red pillars. I'll get in some shit. What's up, Thomas? How you doing? But yeah, we'll talk about Trump's congressional address yesterday. If you've seen my YouTube shorts, you got a idea of what I'm going to say. But yeah, it should be fun. Jump into that. I saw a portion of the mayor's interviews and I saw that it didn't go super well. So it's just something we're testing out here on the StreamYard. So hopefully it works out. Maybe it's something that I will pursue. I got to come up with all kinds of fun stuff like banners and all of that good stuff. So we'll be trying that sort of stuff as we go on. I was impressed. I figured out how to upload my theme song there. Look at this. Bam. Huh? Oh. Maybe I'll get a lefty logo. So when I'm doing the lefty, instead of turning my head around, be the lefty, I can have like a little lefty logo up there, like, you know, good stuff like that. Yeah, less than 3. Maybe I'll reach out to you, man. Hit me up on Discord. You're probably talking about Nylord, who's like Finnish or something. I've talked to him about that name. Oh, yeah, okay. Thank you so much, okay, who I didn't even see your name. Yeah, I see how the super chats now automatically star. Awesome. That makes it so much easier. Okay, for $5 says looks like Wick's looking for strong conservative debaters now. What a surprise. Yeah, I mean, listen, I personally think Wick's a okay guy. I don't wish any ill to Wick. I really don't. I think he's a dog shit moderator. I don't think he's very talented anyways in what he does. Every time I go on there, he just wants to participate as a debater. Okay. And then the last time I was on, he decided to start screaming at me and not let me explain what was going on. He asked me to explain myself why I didn't want to deal with this guy that faked a post in order to get me to talk with him. And instead of letting me explain myself, he just started saying I was like a destiny sweeper and blah, blah, blah. And then we yelled over each other for 3 minutes. He wouldn't give me a chance to speak. So I'm out. I'm uninterested in ever working with Wick again. And then same thing, Andrew Wilson went on afterwards and was like, yeah, you're kind of a prick. I didn't ask Andrew to go on. That's Andrew's thing. I don't give a shit. And Wick, had such hits as, it's my show. I can mute who I want. Cool. So, hey, I'm not telling anyone not to do Wick's show. If you want to do Wick's show, that's perfectly fine. I'm out on it. I don't need the dude. So good luck to him. That's all I have to say. I do have a little drama to talk about, though. We'll see. Here's the thing that I find strange. Let's see what you all think about this. I promise we'll get to the politics, but we're going to delve in a little drama first. Why is it if I stream via my phone, right now, 10 minutes into a stream, I would probably have 115 people watching on YouTube. 100, 115. Well, I guess I'm at 76 now. It's not that unreasonable, but it seems like more people get notified when I do it on my phone, which is just a little strange. I'm not accusing YouTube of malfeasance or any of that good stuff. I just don't know why that would be. AJ Noakes, $5, thank you, says Trump 74% approval speech. No one trumps Trump but Trump. Yeah, we'll talk about the speech, and I know the lefties think it didn't go well, but depending on what poll you're looking at, I've seen anywhere from 68 to 75% of people like the speech. That's not good for Democrats. Casted, thanks so much for the $10. I'll steal from Andrew Wilson here. My favorite comment, no comment. No, I'm not like Andrew. I like the comments. No, I appreciate it though, Casted. I do. Yeah, I don't know that if my notifications go out. So the reason I went with, I'll get to the drama here in a minute, then we'll jump into politics. The reason I decided to try StreamYard was I was going through Restream and OBS, and it was continually screwing with the notifications that it was sending out on Kick. It was like insane. People were getting a notification from me like every 10 seconds, even when I wasn't streaming to Kick, if I ever went live. And so I felt like I was alienating that audience. StreamYard's going to be cheaper for me, or about the same price, I guess, but I won't be able to stream to Twitch anymore, which that gets to the drama that I'm going with. Twitch can kiss my ass. So I don't know, maybe I'll do a once a month stream to Twitch or something. I don't know. I felt like I wasn't getting anywhere with Restream. And so here I am, try StreamYards out. I might go back to OBS and Restream. We'll see what's up. The issue with Twitch, for those that don't know, um, Twitch is a terrible platform. Now, believe it or not, I actually have been less banned on Twitch than I have been on YouTube. YouTube's been much better for me since like 2023. I think once the writing was on the wall with places like YouTube that they were like, oh, now we're being called for our banning of conservatives, etc. in social media. I still assume the algorithm's not doing me any favors, but neither here nor there for these purposes. Twitch has become more and more left-wing and radically left-wing, and that's sort of the space that you dealt with there on Twitch. But I'd never received a ban or a warning or anything of that nature as far as I know. I was doing a debate with so-called conservative progressive victory pack employee Connor Counterpoints, a few weeks ago. And in the heat of the debate, I didn't realize that Connor was repeatedly violating Twitch's terms of service by calling me a homophobic slur over and over again, I believe 7 times. And during the course of that, I actually received an email saying that I got a warning for Twitch while I was still live. I didn't see the email until I was done. But during the stream, I got an email, and it specifically said it was for content of someone on my stream. Like either someone in the chat or someone. Okay? So that was my warning. And then about 20 minutes later, I got a 30-day ban. Now, I didn't make a big stink about it because, one, I had the ability to stop the Twitch stream when Connor started saying those things. I didn't think to do it. Oh, well. In addition to that, I did violate Twitch terms of service by misgendering or gendering Brianna Wu, Connor's co-host. I don't normally intentionally use the incorrect gender with people. Brianna has been ridiculous in all of my interactions, and part of the stream was talking about Connor and Brianna sweeping up for allegations of destiny. So that's what's going on. So Jack Sheridan says, you got a 30-day ban. Hassan was throwing out calls to action. Yeah, I mean, Hassan, then this is where the story leads. Hassan, who's probably the biggest politics streamer on Twitch, radical lefty, Cenk Uyghur's nephew, he all but called for violence against Rick Scott, Republican Rick Scott, who's a senator, and he received basically a 24-hour ban. That's bad enough. But here's the part that's even funnier. This is the part I find the funniest. Asmongold's the biggest political streamer? Maybe. Is he considered a political streamer? I don't know. Connor, I just happened to be scrolling X and I saw a post from Connor and he was like, this is ridiculous, Hassan gets a 1.5-day ban. I got a 7-day ban for using homophobic slurs. So unless Connor mistyped there, I got a 30-day ban for the same video that Connor got a 7-day ban, and he was the one repeatedly yelling the homophobic slur. Let me repeat that. The guy that was yelling against terms of service like 7 times the homophobic slur got a 7-day ban, and I got a 30. Now, I assume Twitch would say, that's because misgendering is worse. Okay. If that's their argument, misgendering's 4 times worse than screaming homophobic slurs multiple times, and it's 30 times worse than calling for the assassination of a sitting senator. You got that? You following the Twitch terms of service here? Now, someone might say, yeah, but it was on Connor's stream too. He was live streaming on Twitch. But Rob, did you receive warnings and stuff before? Never. Never been warned one time on Twitch. So I don't have a history of getting banned or anything. I would assume the reason is because I defend Trump. Because I'm right-wing. Further evidence that Connor's not really right-wing, right? When the Twitch mods are So that helped lead the impetus to my decision that's like, you know what, screw Twitch. I feel bad for my audience there, but why am I going to jump through those hoops? It's just, it's not something that I'm interested in dealing with anymore. I feel like I've been a consistent streamer to Twitch's platform. I've never been called for violence, never did anything that got me even a warning. First time they give me a 30-day ban, and I feel like I'm constantly shadow banned there. So I'm done dealing with it. Jim Walsh, thanks for the $4, man. Says thoughts on the corrections officer strike in New York. First I'm hearing of it right here. So I assume this has to do with some of New York's like anti-bail policies and stuff. I don't know. That's the first I'm hearing of it. I'd have to look into it. Wigera for $10 says, can we stop pretending that anyone cares about the homo stuff? Can we just care about the truth? This isn't about supporting Rob. I really don't care. Yeah, I hear you, Wigera. Now, truth be told, a lot of people that watch me saw me first on Tim Pool's show, or they saw me on The Crucible with Andrew Wilson, or they saw me debating Destiny. Some people hate watch me. Some people don't agree with me politically, but they like watching me. The people that come from Andrew's crowd and Tim's crowd probably like me and agree with me on most things. But one of the things that probably a lot of the Crucible audience doesn't like about me is I'm not really super fired up about gay issues. I think that the trans stuff goes way too far. I've talked at length about my feelings, so I'm not going to rehash that as far as gay marriage and stuff like that this evening. But even having said that, like, it's just, South Park said it best when they had their whole episode about the 3-word slur for gays, and they're like, it doesn't mean anything about gays, it's just someone that's annoying, someone that's riding a Harley really loud. Yeah, people throw those slurs around, and I don't think 95% of the time they're literally calling you a homosexual. I just don't give a shit about any of these slurs. I understand how it could be used from time to time to be particularly edgy and offensive. And a lot of times, depending on the context you're in, it could mean different things. Personally, I just don't care. I just don't care. Like, for example, anytime you question the aid getting sent to Ukraine, one of the first things you'll hear over and over, like little NPCs, is, well, you got Putin's balls in your mouth. Oh, you're deep-throating Trump. I don't know what the obsession is with oral sex with men from the people that, want to question why you don't support never-ending war and unaccountable monies being sent to countries all over the world instead of helping out the American people. But to each their own. I don't care. Connor called me homophobic slurs over and over again. Don't bother me at all. I don't give a shit. So I'm not upset to be called that shit. I choose to remain in terms of service and not use those terms, and appreciate that people don't use those terms because I don't want to get my YouTube channel banned and shit like that. But yeah, it don't bother me, and it doesn't bother anyone. I mean, again, Connor's a darling at this point of the left, doing a show with Brianna Wu. They don't give a shit that he uses homophobic slurs. Yay, based, they said. Call Rob that shit. Okay? It doesn't bother me. So, anyways, that's, well, no, I do think, listen, let me be clear. There is an LGBT agenda. There is. I don't give a shit if someone's gay and they're my friend. I don't care. If they're trying to, the bad choice of words, I was gonna say shove shit down my throat. But if they're constantly aggrieved about it and demand, then I'm like, oh, kiss my ass. I don't have time for it. Being gay should continue to be abnormal. We should not normalize it. That doesn't mean I hate the people that are gay. Maybe that's a weird take for people, but that's the truth. We should be promoting not just being straight, but we should be promoting monogamous heterosexual relationships that lead towards marriage and child rearing and strong family units. That's what we should promote. There are people that will fit outside of that I don't think are evil, terrible people. But what we should normalize and what we should celebrate and what we should promote is Heterosexuality leading to monogamous relationships and having healthy families, getting married and having healthy families. That's what we should promote. Being obese shouldn't be normalized either. Totally agree. That's why fat shits like me need to get in better shape. Being obese isn't healthy. Holy shit, man. We got a scientist here. Damn. I've also heard rumors that smoking's bad for me. Please tell me that's not the case. Yeah, I missed the correctional officer strike. I don't know what's going on with that. I'll have to check that out. Is that big news? Check it out. When can we see me on Piers Morgan? I don't know, man. I'd happily do it anytime, especially if I don't have to fly out there. I'm happy to see my friend Andrew Wilson getting opportunities on there. I think he deserves it. As people know, me and Andrew don't agree on everything. We probably agree on like 90% of stuff where we want culture and politics to go. But as far as hardworking and one of the most genuine people that I've dealt with online, I think he's at the top. And it couldn't happen to a guy who deserves it more. So I tip my cap to him. Will I get an opportunity at some point? I don't know. Hopefully, I would like it. I think there are times I watch other people in there and I'm like, damn, I would have crushed that conversation. But all right, let's jump in. Let's do Trump's speech. Let's do it. Now, if you've already tuned into my YouTube channel, you'd get a preview of what I'm going to say here because I put 2 YouTube shorts up. One was grading Trump's speech, and then one was looking at the behavior of Democrats during it. So we'll start with Trump's speech, and I'll grade it, and I'll sort of rehash some of that, though I have more time. I don't have a 3-minute time limit like I do on shorts. Yeah, I have no interest, Captain, in going on whatever podcast, though, because I don't think I have much to say on those sort of cultural issues. I debated that Jasmine chick, and I ended up doing a sort of a trial run for what maybe whatever would be like, and kind of insulting her for being an OnlyFans chick. I don't know. It's just not really, I don't really have it in me. Cody Folsom, thanks so much for the $5. Hope all is well, Robert. It is. All is well. We'll talk about at the end of the show what my week has coming up for me, and I'm pretty excited. So, so follow me on YouTube, get those shorts, watch the YouTube shorts. Also, my editor, Black Elk, 8 a.m. every day is putting videos out. New one out today. Talking crap on Captain My Captain is partially in that video. And Sitch from Adam and Sitch. So maybe you'll all enjoy that. Trump's congressional address. Overall grade, B+. Everyone will grade these things in different ways. And even myself, depending on what I'm focused on, I would be able to give different grades. So, for example, if I'm looking at a speech of what do I personally want to hear, there could be a speech that's an A, but maybe that harms that candidate or that politician with the general public. For example, I would like it for Trump to come out and say, we're banning all foreign aid to Ukraine, and we're banning all foreign aid to Israel, and we're disbanding the FBI. That'd be great for me. Would that, in this context, necessarily lead to the greatest speech to achieve what his goals are? Maybe not. So when I say B+, the criteria that I'm looking at it is, I'm thinking, what was Trump trying to do with this speech? Who was Trump's audience with this speech? And we'll see if you all agree with me. I think Trump's audience was everyday Americans that voted Republican or Democrat, who he's trying to explain sort of the breakneck speed of his first 40 days in office and his sort of agenda that's against the norm. Because there's a lot of narrative control around, well, what is Doge doing? What is Trump going to do on the border? What is Trump doing with Ukraine? What is Trump doing with tariffs? And so Trump now has a time not to really speak to the members of Congress, but to speak to the American people and say, this is what we're doing on each of these issues. That to me is what Trump was trying to do. Now, there's other things that factor into that B plus grade. Was it an entertaining speech? Were there heartwarming moments? Were there parts that were funny? Were there parts that were informative? But overarchingly, that B plus is me grading him on what I perceive as his agenda of explaining himself and making his administration look popular in the eyes of the American people. Now, I gave that grade before I started to see the polling that came out, which take polling with a grain of salt, but almost every poll that came out asking Americans what they thought about Trump's speech or the direction of the country after Trump's speech, and it was like 70 to 74% were positive of it. Now, seeing that Trump's popularity ratings around 50 to 51%, that would seem to indicate that his speech did well, that it was above his popularity numbers. And so that would make you guess that, I mean, that's ridiculously high for any politician to have 70 to 75%, especially Trump, because Trump's ceiling is low. Because there is 30 to 35% of this country that absolutely despises Donald Trump no matter what, forever. Other politicians have those people, but those numbers aren't that high. So Joe Biden probably had 25% that would hate Biden no matter what. Trump's numbers are higher than that. And so for the polling to suggest roughly 70%, maybe in the aggregate, thought this was a good speech is pretty damn good. That's really good. And so I think that I'm vindicated in my grade of a B plus. Now, why wasn't it an A? Well, let's start with the negatives first. The two big negatives that I could come up with was, and this we'll go in order of importance. The biggest negative that I could come up with was it was too long. And I know people pushed back on me in the comments of my shorts. I do try to read comments when I get a chance. I don't have a lot of time to respond to it, but I do read comments. People are saying, no, people have the attention span to listen to an hour and 40 minutes. That's no problem. Or, well, actually, Trump's speech wasn't that long. It was all the applause. The speechwriters know that there's going to be applause after damn near every other line. So that's baked into the cake as far as the length goes. They might not have it down to an exact science, but they have an idea. They knew that was going to be an hour and 40-minute speech. I assure you. The other thing is, or at least an hour and a half. The other thing is, people don't have an attention span like that. They don't. I know, because by the end of it, I was like, I got stuff to do. I planned on streaming last night after the speech. Oh, shit. How long have I been muted? God dang this mic. Thank you, Aircraft Sparky. I was not reading the chat, so thank you for, well, shit. Let's start over, I guess. God damn this mic. I gotta see if there's a way to turn that setting off. It is the most aggravating shit. All right. Bad Trump. Let's start with bad Trump. I give him a B plus. Bad Trump was the length of the speech. I don't think people could. It's hard to compartmentalize the most important information. If you go for an hour and 40 minutes, people lose interest. The other bad part of it was, I don't think he did a good job differentiating the tariffs that are reciprocal versus the tariffs that are because of fentanyl on Canada and Mexico. And for me, that's really a negative for Trump because I think the reciprocal tariffs, the case for it's easier to make for the American people. Now, I'm not a huge fan of tariffs anyways, but the idea of this country's tariffing us, so we're not going to tariff the exact same products as them because maybe they import agricultural or energy and we don't from them. So if they import, for example, our cars at 25%, tariff them at 25%, but we don't import any cars from them, tariffing their automobiles at 25% will do nothing. It won't matter to them. So you got to find sort of a close proximity to exactly what they're tariffing to make it reciprocal. People can get behind that. Hey, you're doing it to us. That fair is fair. Okay. The tariffs for fentanyl on Canada and Mexico are different. That's not, oh, you're tariffing us total at 25%, so we'll do it to you. That's, we're going to do the reciprocal tariffs to Canada and Mexico, but on top of that, there's going to be a 25% tariff that went into effect yesterday because they're not doing enough on fentanyl. I would like to hear more detail on that. I'm not necessarily a big fan of that policy either, but almost nothing was said on that specifically. It's just sort of like, well, fentanyl's still coming across the border, and they said they're doing some, but they're not doing enough. Well, what is enough? Now, I understand he wants to intentionally leave it vague. My theory is what's going to happen is Trump needed to show that, dude, we're going to tariff people. He had to let some go through. Colombia was the first situation. I think it was Colombia that was like, yeah, we're not going to take our illegals back. And Trump was like, okay, tariff. And then they caved right away. He's got to put tariffs on at some point if he's going to keep threatening them. He can't always make the excuse, well, at the last minute we changed our mind, because then countries won't take him serious. So I think he's starting here on this issue, but my guess is in short order, they will be rescinding these fentanyl tariffs. And I think that it's more of like to show the stick. Like, listen, we're not messing around. So we're going to make you suffer through the uncertainty and go through this for a week, a month, etc. until you're willing to say, yeah, we're willing to work with you and do what is necessary. So but I don't think Trump, obviously you can't really explain that if that's your strategy, but Trump still could have sold the need for these sorts of tariffs and exactly what types of things he expects Canada and Mexico to do. So I thought those were the two weaker areas of his speech. The positive areas, I was saying this when I boomerly muted my mic there. One was the guest that Trump had. Heartwarming stories. The gentleman that they announced got accepted into West Point. Very cool. The young man with cancer who wanted to be a police officer, and they made him an honorary Secret Service agent, and he hugged the guy. That was really cool. We'll get to the Democrats' sort of behavior during all of that. But these guests, not only were there heartwarming stories, but they all seemed to be appropriate in the themes that Trump was talking about. You had Laken Riley's family there. You had another woman whose child was killed by an illegal. You had a member of law enforcement. You had a woman who was harmed by a biological male in a female sport. You even had the gentleman that was freed through negotiations by Trump, was freed from a Russian prison. All of these guests were unimpeachable as far as like just heartwarming stories, or if not heartwarming, just people that were victims, that there's no real criticism for having those people there, and they fit in with the themes that Trump was talking about, and that helps humanize Trump. And I'm not saying that Democrats never do a good job of bringing guests, etc., but very good on all of those guests. I thought that was good. I thought that Trump's continues, some of the best parts about Trump in these sort of State of the Union-esque speeches are his ad-libs. Sometimes Trump's ad-libs in the past, the way he talks sometimes grates on me a little. He'll be reading a speech, something like this. Canada tariffs our automobiles at 25%. And this will go on no longer. And that's like the end of the sentence. And then Trump will add this. He'll be like, no longer. It's gone on too long. Very long time. It's gone on. You're like, okay. It's clever though. Like as someone who's, went to school for speech and, was a debater and have given speeches and everything. It is a way to make your speech sound more conversational. So it sounds less pre-written if you're reading words and then you're throwing in conversational-esque, portions at the end of each sentence. So I know why Trump does it, and I think it does have an effect of like making it more conversational in tone. I do. But where Trump's really strong with these ad libs is like when he's making jokes. Like in his last State of the Union, he brought on a guy. I think it was his last State of the Union. He brought one of the guests was a guy, and they were like, "Oh, it's his birthday today," and the Congress starts singing "Happy Birthday" to this guy. And then everybody applauds, and Trump's like, yeah, it's someone's birthday. You have to sing. You have to. I got a feeling these people wouldn't sing if it was me. And like points to the Democrats. That's funny. That's a funny joke. And Trump had tons of those lines yesterday, including the Pocahontas line. Now, I know that the Democrats are trying to run. This is a trap Democrats fall into all the time. They try to perpetually clutch their pearls and be offended at something, but then it ends up making the situation worse. Because if you're like, well, how dare Trump call her Pocahontas? That's like a slur. It's like, okay, well, why did he call her that? Oh, she pretended to be an Indian? So tell us again what's bad? If I was an Indian and it's like, this guy called this woman an Indian in a derogative way. Ooh, that makes me mad. Wait a minute, why did he do that though? Oh, because she pretended to be Indian so she could get benefit? She pretended to take the suffering of my people on herself? Yeah, screw that. I'll pick on her too. So I thought that was good. I also thought that the pre-written line where Trump's like, listen, I could cure diseases. I could do all this great stuff. These people still wouldn't applaud. That's just how they are. I think that's an interesting line because although it's sort of predictable and you're like, well, of course, and the Republicans do the same to a degree when it's a Democrat president, it really puts the Democrats in an awkward position the rest of the evening where it's like, were you going to applaud or not? And of course they weren't going to, so... You're 3% Indian? Listen, man, I grew up being told I was part Indian. I grew up being told my grandma was a quarter Blackfoot Indian. And I don't think it's true. But that's what I was told. And I'll be honest, I've used that many times to win arguments. Oh, of course, steal my turn here at beer pong, just like you stole my land, you pricks. Also, the other thing that I've used, I don't know if I've ever showed this on camera. I got this thumb here, right? But then check this out. I have a little like toe thumb. And so I've successfully used this toe thumb for victim points many, many years of my life. So if you wonder why I'm a bad bowler, toe thumb. Bad golfer, toe thumb. So, yeah, it is disgusting. I'm a mutant. I feel like if the X-Men story ever came to fruition with like mutants and stuff, I'd be right there. I'd be like, I got you, Wolverine. That's right. I'm disabled, so I can barely hold my beverage. See? It is a handicap. I've been told that Megan Fox has a very similar thumb. So, could do worse. So that was good. I also thought, the strongest point, the strongest 2 points of Trump's speech was specifically when he's going through the wasteful spending. If I'm Trump, I'm doing that every week. I'm doing like a fireside chat. Make it 10 minutes. Here's 5 items of insane waste we found. Paying for cartoons to be broadcast in Abu Dhabi. Research on, marmosets and whether they eat more at night. I do that every week because I think the American people need to understand just how the problem is when you start going through a list, you can go through a list of like 40 things and people are just like, wow, it's too much to comprehend. You're just like, whatever. You just give up. It's like, he wasn't wrong about the transgender stuff. There's a lot of people that read into what he's saying and then assume that he's wrong. Let's get to some super chats real quick before I forget. Jordan for $5. Thanks so much, man. Says, I think it's funny Dems in Congress spent money on little signs and protests, which ironically shows they suck at using our money. Well said. We'll get to the Democrats' behavior here in a minute. Wagira, $5 says, I got a hitchhiker thumb. Means nobody will ever accept me. Modern logic. Yeah. You, sir, are a victim. So I thought that was good. The line of the night, though, for Trump was, and it's a perfect line where it's like, Democrats said we needed a new law to protect the border. It turns out all we needed was a new president. Notice how Democrats aren't talking about that anymore. And it's a point that I should have focused on more, though I have brought up many times. The border encounters this month were at near record lows, if not record lows. What's changed? Remember when I was debating all of those left-wingers and they kept saying, actually, Kamala takes the border more serious. She would be more concerned about the border. How many debates was I on where this got brought up? Or Collins that said this? And I would say things like this. I would say, I'm supposed to believe that Democrats didn't care about the border in 2021, didn't care about it in 2022, didn't care about it in 2023. But all of a sudden, when polling showed it was a big issue, now in an election year, they're like, oh yeah, we care. Democrats said we had to pass the Langford bill that would have enshrined allowing up to 4,000 or 5,000 people a day into the border. What were the encounters this last month? 8,000? And they wanted to make it legal for 4,000 a day to come in. That would be the law today. Trump's hands would be tied. He wouldn't be allowed to change that. Hanazubi says, no, he said the research was to transgender the frogs. He misread. It's transgenic. It shows how diseases affect all human. First, I think you're wrong. I don't think he said frogs. I think he said mice. Did he say frogs at another point? Is that true? I'm aware of the story about the transgender mice and transgenic mice. But before I respond to you, I want to make sure that there wasn't another part. It was mice. Okay. You're actually wrong, Hannah Zuby. So this is another case of people reading into what Trump's saying, right? Yes, you could have listened to him saying we're doing studies on transgendering mice, blah, 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 and say that means that we're cutting off penises. But no, that's not the case. The Democrats jumped all over this. CNN put an article out and was like, what happened was it wasn't about transgender mice. It was about transgenic mice, which means giving them diseases that could affect humans. And it is true. We've done research on transgenic mice. But it's also true that we've spent tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and maybe adding up to millions of dollars giving mice things like hormone blockers. Giving mice treatments and drugs that we give to the transgender community. So CNN was forced to issue a retraction after everyone that I know that's on the left were like, oh, look how stupid Trump and his supporters are. They believe this. And it turned out to be true. Now, were they literally going in and performing surgeries? No, not necessarily. They were giving things like hormones for the purpose of research about treatments to the transgender community. And yes, that's a waste of our money. Another issue where this came up, when Trump's talking about people on the Social Security list that are 300 years old, 120 years old, 140 years old, 150 years old, up to 300 years old. The Democrats are all yelling, lies, lies. He's not lying. Now, that might end up being proved to be a lie or untrue. But my looking into is, he's right what he's saying. The argument is, are these people getting Social Security payments? That's the argument. Trump didn't say definitively that every one of these people is getting payments. He's saying there's fraud, people are getting payments that they shouldn't, and look how ridiculous our list is. Which intuitively, you could probably think a lot of these people are probably getting a check. Now, not them. Newsflash, Democrats, no one thinks that Bernie, I heard Bernie saying this, the 300-year-old on Social Security list is not receiving Social Security payments. Yeah, Bernie, that dude's dead. We got it. The question is someone else getting that money? Is that check going out? And some great-grandson's cashing that? That's the problem. It's the same with the voter rolls. Republicans are like, we think that there's probably fraud in elections. There is. Everyone who's honest would admit it. You might say, well, it's not much. It's not enough to swing an election. But everyone admits there's some kind of fraud. And it doesn't take a genius to realize, with as high stakes as politics is, particularly in the United States, for God's sakes, where people are willing to try to assassinate Trump multiple times, if people think they can get an edge one way or another, they may try it. So when Republicans talk about voter rolls needing to be cleaned up, and Democrats are like, that's ridiculous. Why? All those people aren't cheating. Well, no shit. Of course not all of them are. But as long as these people are on the rolls, it makes fraud and cheating easier to accomplish and more likely. The same's of this Social Security registry. So, again, it's another issue. And if the Democrats never realize how these are losing issues for them. You said that he was transgendering mice, but actually, no, they were just giving hormone therapy to mice to test for use on transgender people. The average American's like, okay, yeah, that sucks too. Oh, you said that all these people were on the Social Security rolls, thousands upon thousands over the age of 120. But here's the deal. There's no proof they're personally alive and receiving benefits. Okay, why are these people still on the rolls? Because we're told on one hand that, like, the government's very efficient. They're on the up and up. They're making sure all this stuff's running smoothly. But then you have other offices like the OMB, sometimes the GAO, even before Doge, we're like, yeah, the federal government's losing shitloads of money in waste and fraud, like hundreds of billions. Well, then something's happening. What? Let's take a look at, like, where we're sending money. Okay, we send money for Medicaid, we send tax return money, we send PPP loans. Let's look at what we can find out about those sorts of checks that were going out for the government. USAID gives money, so we start looking into it and you see all this crazy shit. One of those might be, wow, look at the registration on Social Security of people they're still saying are alive that are on Social Security. And Democrats are just like, that's all bullshit. Is it? So, by the way, what do you think a PETA member that's transgender thinks about hormone treatment on mice? Talk about two competing worlds, right? Jewish skeptic, what is this denomination of money? 18, I don't know what that is. Thank you, though. The 500K to promote atheism in Nepal had me rolling, not gonna lie. Yeah, I mean, hilarious. There were posts put out today by Doge, or I don't know specifically by Doge, but others that had links to the hormone therapy for mice, etc. So you have to look there, Hanazubi. So, pretty good speech for Trump. I thought it was good. I thought that most Americans will like what he has to say. The Democrats are trying to paint his agenda as radical, and technically, by the definition of the term radical, it may be. It's radical because it's an agenda that prioritizes the average American and not our bureaucracy. Yeah, that could be seen as radical, I guess. It's an incredible departure from past presidencies. But radical puts a negative connotation on it. Another way of saying it is, a change to finally benefit the American people? So it's all in the framing of the question. And I think most Americans like what they're hearing. Now, we'll see. It's early. A couple things to say about this. Presidents are usually more popular at the beginning of their term. So there's certainly room for Trump to go downhill. And a lot of what Trump's saying, he even says this about the farmers, where he's talking about how the tariffs will help them in the long run. There'll be short-term losses. Can Trump get through those? We'll see. I've talked about withdrawing Ukraine aid almost every day, Hanazubi, so we might get to that later. But that's where we are. Now, Democrats' behavior. D-? First, let's defend Democrats to some degree, okay? Number one, I know it still looks bad, and that matters, particularly if we're talking about selling a message to the American people. It looks bad when you see Democrats not clapping for a bunch of stuff, but let's not kid ourselves. That's the way these things always go. When Biden was there, it was Republicans sitting on their hands most of the time. I think it's stupid, but I understand how partisan we've become and why that's the case. So I will defend them a little on that. In addition, yes, it's true. Every Democrat that's out there screaming about Al Green getting kicked out by the Sergeant of Arms. It is true in the past. People like Laura Loomer and Marjorie Taylor Greene have acted up and they weren't kicked out by the Sergeant at Arms and blah, blah, blah. And so don't act like clutch your pearls and it's like, oh my God, I can't believe the decorum. I personally don't care on issues of decorum. I care in that it makes Democrats look stupid and childish, but I'm not going to clutch my pearls over it. Part of the things I like about Trump is that he's kind of broken through the establishment decorum. I don't mind that. So you won't see me clutch my pearls necessarily on that. I can't believe in this somber chamber that they would do something like this. That's my feelings on that. But that's it. That's all I'll say on them that's positive. Kurt's Corner for $10. Thanks so much. Says, to remove the illegals will be harder than you think. During COVID, when everything was shut down, went to a Mexican family member, got license plates for my truck for less money than the government. Yeah, I mean, again, every time that an illegal's removed, there will be a sob story that will attempt to pull on people's heartstrings, and some of it will be sob. Just like there was a guy, in fact, maybe he's waiting. I forgot to check my Discord. There was a guy that was going to call in and he wanted to argue with me about 10 people that got laid off under Doge that were meteorologists, how that's a huge mistake. Yeah, there's going to be thousands of people making those exact claims. Right? They're going to be saying, oh my goodness, you wouldn't believe, man. You wouldn't believe this one person they laid off. It's the greatest guy in the world. And then the next person will go, yeah, my husband, he got laid off. He's the greatest. My cousin, she got laid off. She's the greatest. Yeah. Unfortunately, we've allowed the situation to get so far out of hand that we now have no choice but to make those hard decisions. It's the way it is. Sorry. We don't have time to be like, well, let's take our time and go through each and every job at the federal government, the largest bureaucracy in the history of humanity. Too late. Now the bad about the Democrats. So yeah, they look stupid and childish with their stupid little, they still don't get it. Not only is it the signs that they're holding, if you didn't see it, they're holding signs that say like false or lies or this isn't normal. And they're holding these signs like you've just made yourself a meme. You don't think that a bunch of people standing and holding auction paddles with words written on them, that there aren't people that are going to instantly just meme the shit out of that? So it's like, good job there. And how stupid. Like, all you got to do is go watch a lot of the left-wing people. Like, it's just a dumb, it's just like, they're so disconnected. They do not know how to organically appeal to the average person. They don't. Like their videos they put out the other day, when was it? Like 22 Democrat members of Congress put out verbatim the exact same video with the exact same video edits. The shit that's not true video. They who thought that was a good plan? Or like, just go back to Kamala's, like, the brat thing that they tried to, JD Vance is weird and brat. Like, who thinks this is connecting? These are people that were like, oh my God, Tony Hinchcliffe's joke. Let's all clutch our pearls about this. It's, what are you doing? They are so disconnected. They're so damn disconnected from like average people. They've stayed in the game for so long because they've controlled the narrative. Because all of the old media, or huge portions of it's just propagandists for them. So they're able to control the narrative. Social media's banning people, shadow banning, manipulating algorithms to benefit them. You're starting to see all these traditional media outlets like ABC and CNN and 538 shut down today. They're all laying people off, MSNBC. Why? Because there's no organic audience. Shit, I'm probably weeks away from getting the audience Joy Reid had. And I'm a nobody. They have no idea what even direction to go in right now. Half of the people on the left, if you go to X, they're like, I'm furious at the Democrats because they just sat there and took it. They didn't fight. Good on Al Green. Then the other half of the Democrats are like, yeah, Al Green's stunt was stupid. That doesn't help us. They have no direction. Like, that's how, like, they have no clue. They have no identity. It's just, well, you're racist. You're sexist. Trump's Hitler. You're a puppet of Russia. It's Putin's talking points. That's it. That's all they have. And so to watch them desperately, like, all day you were hearing reports, well, they're going to bring eggs. They're going to bring noisemakers. And then you'd see people like, great, let them do that. They're going to look so bad. And then they're like, oh, okay, they're not going to do that. Instead, they're going to hold signs and sit there quiet. They're going to wear pink. Okay, for women, what's up with that? Well, because Trump's plans hurt women and men, so they're going to wear pink. What? That'll get them. And they just come off as buffoons. It's incredible. Like, I do think there are some people, even though I don't like them and like their politics, like Jon Stewart at least comes across as likable to the average person. He's able to admit, like, yeah, this is stupid, even to a lesser extent, Bill Maher. But they send these unlikable people out there. I mean, say what you want about AOC. At least she's connecting to a certain segment of young people. Stolkin, the woman that they put out there that used to work at the CIA, that's just Liz Cheney with a D next to her name. Who does she appeal to? Just the traditional establishment donor class. Anybody real excited about that speech? Yeah, I watched like 3 minutes of it. It was late, but I haven't seen anything good said about it. That, you know, the usual, like, Harry Sissons and Krasenstein brothers on X are like, greatest speech I ever heard, or some shit like that. But the Democrats are trotting out former CIA employees as their voice. Neocons. That woman is a 2004 Bushite. That's who, what's her name? Ellis Stolkin. That's who she is. Her foreign policy would be indistinguishable from George W. Bush's, who the Democrats at one point said was the most evil man alive. Okay. But then here's the other thing I haven't heard anyone say. Yes, you've heard people say, oh, they didn't applaud for this kid with cancer. How terrible is that? And that's true. But again, I'll defend the Democrats in this. That's just how the game is. I'm not going to applaud for anything that jerk says. And Republicans, many of them do the same thing when it was Joe Biden. Now, if you watched me analyze some of Joe Biden's State of the Unions, I made this point. It's stupid, but I understand why people aren't applauding, so I'm not really thinking it's a big deal. I know that it perceptually has an impact on an audience watching, but it's the way the game's played. Because if you clap once, now you have to answer, well, why was that the only time you clapped? So if you just don't clap at all, you could say, look, we just don't like the president. We're not going to clap for anything for him. But if you clap for the kid with cancer, but then you don't clap for Trump saying, and we've incarcerated 50 terrorists. We brought in 50 terrorists that were extradited to us from Mexico. Why didn't you clap? You don't think that's a good thing? Now, clearly you could make the argument, well, clapping for the kid for cancer, that stands apart. But you see the problem. If you're just not going to clap, then you don't clap, and that's the end of it. We're not clapping for anything he does. If you selectively clap at stuff, then you have to answer, why did you clap at the stuff you clapped at, and why didn't you at other things? What was the one time that Democrats applauded in the speech last night? They did applaud once. You know when it was? Surely it was the kid with cancer, that great moment becoming a Secret Service agent. Nope. That's right. Jack Sheridan nails it. Trump's talking about how many people are dying in the Ukraine conflict, and we can't keep sending them money to lead to that for the next 5 years. And the Democrats applaud. They'll applaud the meat grinder in Ukraine. They're not sending their sons and daughters. They're not going. But yay, Ukrainian young men dying by scores. We'll applaud that. Keep it going for 5 more years. Yes. They'll applaud that. But they couldn't applaud the kid with cancer. They couldn't applaud the hostage that got freed. So I'm sorry. The excuse of, well, it's not that they didn't care about the kid with cancer. It's just they weren't applauding anything that Trump said. That's not true. They did applaud. And I haven't seen people mention this. That further highlights the depravity of the Democratic Party. I'm sure they discussed don't applaud for anything. But then they couldn't help themselves when some started going, was like 5 more years of funding Ukraine to keep the war going. Yay! And then other people were like, yeah. Yeah, and then Trump's like, Pocahontas is in for it. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. The hostage. It's a great point. Russia's this evil place that they hate. We freed an American that was unfairly jailed there. They can't applaud Trump for that. Where was Biden? How many times do we have to see clips? I saw a clip earlier today. Chris Hayes, the Rachel Maddow lookalike from MSNBC, in 2014, did a segment about why are these Republican senators in Ukraine standing with these known neo-Nazis in this group, the Azov Battalion. Today, if you say that, that's Russian talking points. But in 2014, you can call it out. Democrats did. Where was all this anti-Russian fervor when it turned out that there was Russia collusion in the 2016 election? Hillary's team colluding with the suspected Russian spy to get disinformation, the very thing they were accusing Trump of doing, which he hadn't done. And then the FBI taking that disinformation, never bothering to verify it, and using it to get illegal FISA warrants to spy on Trump's team. Democrats didn't give a shit about that Russian collusion. All of a sudden, Russia wasn't a big story there. Strange. Remember Obama saying, wait until after the election, we'll have time to negotiate? Remember when Obama said about Mitt Romney saying that Russia was our biggest threat? The Cold War wants their foreign policy back. Remember the reset button that they gave Hillary? Remember Jen Psaki meeting with Russian counterparts wearing the little white babushka hat with the hammer and sickle on it? Remember that shit? Remember Uranium One? Under a Democratic administration, we sold 20% of the rights of our uranium to Russia. Remember that shit? Huh. Now Democrats are telling us Russia's always evil and always lies, and for decades that's who they've been. And yet you were supporting myself to a degree as well, normalizing relations with them previously. Why? Bill Clinton said that when he personally talked to Putin, he thought he was a very trustworthy, straightforward guy. Remember that? You remember the Uranium One deal where Hillary Clinton's State Department signed off on it? When around that same time, her husband went and personally met with Vladimir Putin. The Secretary of State's husband personally meeting with Vladimir Putin. And then a few weeks after that meeting with Vladimir Putin, spoke at a Russian state-owned bank and was paid $500,000 for it. Remember that? Where were the Democrats in? Because the Democrats' argument isn't, well, Russians became evil in 2022. They've always been that. That's why you can't even negotiate with them. You can't negotiate. This is who they've always been. Remember when the vice president's son was working for a company that was ran by a Ukrainian that was considered basically a pro-Russian oligarch? Remember that? Huh. Remember when Joe Biden put a quid pro quo on the aid we were sending to Russia on the condition that they fire a prosecutor that was looking into his son's company? Where were the Democrats on that? They still don't give a shit. All of them freaking out because Trump's going to stop aid. This is what Trump should have said. Actually, I'm stopping aid until Ukraine fires any prosecutors that may be looking into my son's company. So until they can prove that, we're going to withhold the aid. Democrats would be like, oh, very reasonable. Yep. Because corruption. Wasn't that the argument? Oh, no. Biden wasn't trying to help his son. It was because corruption. You don't think Ukraine's corrupt today? Why was it acceptable for them to withhold aid? So spare me the moral grandstanding on Russia. But I am just repeating Putin's talking points. That's true. When Trump said, hey, I want you to look into the possible corruption of Biden with the forced firing of your prosecutor, they said, impeach! How dare you suggest withholding aid until corruption be investigated? Even though that's what we did. Yeah. John Strevens, I mentioned that. Obama's saying he'd have more flexibility with Putin after the election. Now, I think it's good news that Trump's officially put a halt to aid and weapons to Ukraine. Good. Supposedly put an end to sharing intel. Good. I think Trump right now is trying to send the signal to Zelensky, buddy, you're either going to promise to come to the table and push for a ceasefire and peace, regardless of the fact that you rightfully hate Putin. You're going to do that, or you're on your own. What we're not going to do is piss around with you going, well, no, I can't do a ceasefire unless I get X, Y, Z. Okay. You're in no position to bargain. If that's your argument, fine. We're going to step back. You get back to us. Let us know how it went. Have Europe step in. Great. Yeah, the Victoria Noon Club, Robbie C. We were talking just yesterday or the other day, 2 days ago, about Chris Murphy. A video of him. Let's see if I can find that, actually. Now that I have two monitors. Oh, my goodness, how fancy pantsed. Oh, my goodness. I've really hit the big time here with my second monitor. Bad time using the search features on X. All right, let's do this. First, let's bring up the Chris Hayes. If I could, now this is my first, bear with me. We're using StreamYard's new service here. So I'm going to try to screen share, see what I could do here. All right, let's hope the volume works here.
When Senator John McCain and Senator Chris Murphy went to...
Let me know if you guys could hear this, because I can't see if you can, so let me know if you could hear it.
When Senator John McCain and Senator Chris Murphy went to stand with these protesters in December, they stood next to this guy, who is an opposition leader and who also happens to lead Ukraine's right-wing nationalist party, Svoboda. They were also first registered as a neo-Nazi party, and they're in the streets right now, shooting at police. You know what arguably could be called naive? Going on stage at a Ukrainian opposition rally and not realizing you're standing next to a man who heads Ukraine's right-wing nationalist party, a party that was first registered as a neo-Nazi party, which is exactly what John McCain did back in December when he stood next to Ola Chuknabak, the leader of Ukraine's Svoboda party, which, according to the New York Times, traces its roots to the Ukrainian partisan army of World War II, which was loosely allied with Nazi Germany. Senator Chris Murphy was there too, we should note, but he also didn't call the president naive. Now, with Ukraine's President Yanukovych being ousted over the weekend, now facing mass murder charges, the guy that stood next to McCain a couple of months ago, who once said Ukraine was run by a, quote, Jewish Russian mafia, is now, according to the Financial Times, one of 5 contenders to head up that country's government.
Huh. That sounds like Putin's talking points to me. What are you doing, Chris Murphy? Huh. I guess it was different when Democrats wanted to do it in 2014, huh? Let's find more here. We're just going to play some of this. This is Chris Murphy himself. Remember, it's absurd to say that the United States had anything to do with the Maidan Revolution, with the ousting of pro-Russian President Yanukovych in a violent ouster and coup to replace him. That was all organic. The United States had nothing to do with it. Nothing. Remember that?
I think it was our role, including sanctions and threats of sanctions, that forced, in part, Yanukovych from office. Now, the question is, what can we do to support this new government? There's going to be a lot of talk about...
Wait a minute. What was that again? Let's hear that again.
I think it was our role, including sanctions and threats of sanctions, that forced, in part, Yanukovych from office. Now,
Wait, what? I'm sorry, what was that? Is that one of the biggest TDS senators today, Chris Murphy, that's accusing Trump of Putin's talking points and blah, 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 and he's a puppet of Vladimir Putin, admitting in real time in 2014 that the United States policy is in part what led to the Maidan Revolution? Whoops. Let's keep going.
Question is, what can we do to support this new government? There's going to be a lot of talk about an assistance package. With respect to Ukraine, we have not sat on the side.
Wait a minute. So supporting the new government. So there's an illegal violent coup to oust the duly elected President Yanukovych. A senator, and this is just one senator, there were plenty of people, John McCain, others that were on the ground there, Victoria Nuland, that have said publicly things that are like, sounds like the U.S. was involved with that. But we're told repeatedly, don't listen to these dudes. Just like when Biden said, I talked about this Tuesday in the show, when Biden said, if they invade, something's going to happen to that pipeline. That pipeline will be stopped. Then Russia invades and the Nord Stream pipeline gets blown up. And everyone's like, it's a conspiracy to say the United States had anything to do with that. That's a conspiracy theory. It's such a joke. Institute for Internet Research, thank you for becoming a first-time member. I really appreciate it, man. How many times are they going to tell us exactly what's going on and then call you a conspiracy theory when you remember what they said? And they're like, no, they never meant that. They were lying. Now he's saying, oh, and we have to continue to fund and prop up the government that comes afterwards. You don't think that pissed Russia off? You've literally taken one of their greatest allies, helped lead a revolution to get that guy out, and now you're supporting and basically making a partner or vassal the new administration. So Ukraine's gone from one of Russia's strongest allies to now being allies and basically a vassal state of Russia's greatest enemy. But I'm sure that had nothing to do with upsetting them. There was no provocation.
A lot of talk about an assistance package. With respect to Ukraine, we have not sat on the sidelines. We have been very much involved. Members of the Senate who have been there, members of the State Department who have been on the square. The administration, the Obama administration, passed sanctions. The Senate was prepared to pass its own set of sanctions. And as I said, I really think that the clear position of the United States has in part been what has helped lead to this change in regime. So.
How can that be? I was told that's crazy conspiracy theory stuff. How can that be? This guy's in the Senate right now, going nuts about Trump's a puppet of Vladimir Putin, and they're just Russia. They have no reason. There's no motivation. Blah 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 blah. I saw Adam and Sitch say it's a crazy conspiracy theory. Achilles, thank you so much, sir. Achilles7801 for becoming a member. Always appreciated. And then, to quintuple their efforts, Achilles for 5 gifted memberships. Thank you so much. It means a lot, man. Help me pay for my new StreamYard service. I appreciate it. By the way, real quick, how's everyone feeling about the StreamYard presentation? Is it coming across pretty good? The video sharing, I hope that this, because I'm gearing towards probably staying with StreamYard. So I hope this is something people like. We'll get more bells and whistles, introduction, music, things like that. All right. I can't be here all night. I want to wrap it up in like 15 minutes. Let's talk. We could talk about it's you all's decision. We got one more topic. We're going to go for about 15 more minutes. We could either talk about this Supreme Court ruling that seems to significantly harm Trump's agenda, saying that he has to pay out $2 billion from USAID. Or we could talk about bad Trump, his statements on Israel. Your choice. Now, I know either way I'm going to get accused of being a Zionist. So, but it's you all's choice. We got one vote for Supreme Court ruling, one vote for bad Trump. Oh boy, we're tied. John Barrett says Israel. Grade on the speech was a B+. I thought it was very good. All right, let's do bad Trump. That seems to be the consensus. Trump puts out a statement. Let's see if I can find the exact statement, and I'll show it to you guys. I'm really liking the second monitor and the way StreamYard just allows me to stream share pretty easily. I'm digging that. So let's do that. Shalom Hamas means hello and goodbye. You can choose. Release all of the hostages now, not later, and immediately return all of the dead bodies of the people you murdered, or it's over for you. Only sick and twisted people keep bodies, and you're sick and twisted. I'm sending Israel everything it needs to finish the job. Not a single Hamas member will be safe if you don't do as I say. I've just met with your former hostages whose lives you have destroyed. This is your last warning. For the leadership, now is the time to leave Gaza while you still have a chance. Also, to the people of Gaza, a beautiful future awaits, but not if you hold hostages. If you do, you are dead. Make a smart decision. Release the hostages now, or there will be hell to pay later. First off, it is sick to keep hostages, particularly the bodies of hostages. I do appreciate that he says that the future of Gaza can be beautiful, okay? Unless we're talking specifically about American hostages, no! This is not based Trump. This is bad Trump. For example, there's prisoners of wars and possible hostages of Ukrainians being held by Russia. Would we appreciate if that was his language to Russia? Why is it our business? If Israel wants to go in and kick some ass because their hostages are still being held, hats off to you. More power to you. Why are we getting involved? You need to have an explanation if you're against sending aid to Ukraine, but you're for this sort of statement and sending aid to Israel. Then why didn't he say release the American hostages? Cody Folsom for $5 says, what can Trump even threaten them with? Is he going to bomb the rubble again? He seems to be implying bombings or boots on the ground, both of which I would be against. He could ask for hostages, but saying the United States is going to militaristically get involved is a non-starter. How is this not the same criticism I have of the people that are like, no, we need to fund Ukraine to perpetual war? Leave Israel take care of it if they want to. Say, hey, how about a statement like this? Gaza, we're interested in trying a negotiated peace. We want this war to end. We're willing to sit down at the table. Hell, we even have some leverage with Israel to try to get this to be a peaceful negotiation. We're willing to help discuss terms and to broker a peaceful deal. However, you must release hostages before we're willing to do that. If not, then we're going to step out of it and Israel do whatever they feel necessary. And we're going to suggest to the rest of the world, listen, they still have Israel's hostages. What would you do if it was your hostages? That's going to be our position. Spinfoil, that's a hilarious joke. Says Al Green couldn't find the fire alarm. That's very good. So I'm sorry. I'm just calling a spade a spade. That's all I'm doing. It's bargaining, act tough. Whatever. Then what's going to happen if they don't give the hostages and Trump doesn't send bombs? Then it backfires. Talking tough's one thing. Having opposite foreign policies in Ukraine and Israel seems to be non-intuitive to me. Totally agree, Jack Sheridan. I agree. Hamas, etc. is dragging out the release of hostages. I agree it's a shitty move. Not our fight. Real quick, I have to read more into the Supreme Court case, but I stand by. In general, there are specifics that you need to work out the details, but what the dissent's getting to in the Supreme Court case is you're allowing temporary restraining orders from low-level judges to basically put a halt on what the commander-in-chief and leader of the executive branch wants to do. And this is a problem because it'll allow a rampant judiciary of low-level judges that have a political axe to grind to basically bring to a halt the whims of the duly elected president and boss of the executive branch on how to operate the executive branch. And that's a problem. So my suggestion is Trump should comply with the order. He should. I think it'll be a big problem if he doesn't. He has to listen to the Supreme Court. The avenue that they're going to take is there's going to be an avenue to have this. This was sort of just a generality on the theory that what should happen until the court hears the specific case. So the courts will hear this case and the details of it soon. Can I bring up the Trump post again? Sure, if I can find it. Thanks, Bobby C, for the $2. There you go. There's the Trump post. We'll leave it up for a couple seconds. If you want the link to this. There's the link if you want to check it out. So, but in addition to bringing that case, what I would do is, it's what I've said all along, comply with the case, okay? Then all money that's discretionary, all of it, and I mean all of it, immediately redirect to conservative NGOs. Immediately. If you're out there and you know anything about this stuff, create an NGO. If you're like a MAGA conservative, do it. For any cause. Fighting AIDS in Africa. Cool. Create an NGO. And then have Trump redirect the money to Ben Shapiro's group and Glenn Beck's group and the NRA's group. Orthodox Christians groups. Let's do that. And then if Democrats, the next time Democrats win and they want to roll it back, conservative judges will say, no. Can't do that. Sorry. You've promised that money to them. You got to put a hold on that, dog. That's number one. That's what I would do. Number two, we need people to bring cases against spending to judge shop for a conservative judge that will then put a halt on spending. Some low-level district in deep red Arkansas, a couple plaintiffs bring a case. We think that this government spending on money for USAID to influence the elections in Poland is illegal. Great. Halt to it. Getting American hostages back is different. Prove to me that any of the hostages there are American. Notice that Trump's statement didn't say send American hostages back. In fact, it's clear that the implication of Trump's statement is more than American hostages because he's routinely talked about the prior release of hostages, none of which were American, to my knowledge. So if all of his statements on the hostages have always been about American hostages, then he surely would have been saying, look, you released some of these former hostages. None of them were American. We're only concerned about the American hostages. The fact that he's not saying that proves that this isn't what's going on. Also, prove to me that some of the hostages there are American. I have no problem if they're like, release the Americans to the custody of America or they'll be held to pay. That's one thing. The other hostages are irrelevant to me. That's not the statement that Trump made. Yeah, it says they released one American hostage. In February 15th. What does that have to do with Trump's statement? Show me where he uses the word American hostage here. Here's the statement. Show me where he's talking about Americans. They released one hostage. He says he met with the hostages, which seems to imply it was more than just the one American that they're talking about. It's not implied. It's not implied at all. Punished. You can hear your neighbors having sex. Turn your headphones up. Is it your sincere belief, Less Than Three Entertainment, that if they would release, there's supposedly one American alive and 4 dead. If they would release those 4 dead bodies and the one American alive, Trump would go, okay, not our place, not our business. Is that what you believe is going on here? Is there anyone that believes that's what Trump's talking about? That's right, Bobby C. He talks about all hostages. So it's clear that he's talking about. Right, now it changes. Now it's a national interest lens, not just American hostages. Oh, that's not what he's talking about. I knew initially there were Americans that were taken. I didn't know specifically how many were accused or if any were accused of still being there. Oh, Less Than Three's aircraft Sparky. Yeah, you're always changing your name. What are you doing? So, all right, here's the deal. We're going to wrap up here this evening. I hope you all enjoyed this stream. So, real quick, a little personal stuff here. We will be streaming tomorrow night. I think I'm going to be with Grid Motorsports tomorrow at 7 p.m. So, I'll be doing a show with Grid. Great guy. I think that'll be a fun show. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but I'm sure organically we will find a lot to talk about. So, that should be good. In addition to that, well, what do I mean in addition? That'll probably be my last stream of the week because my wife's going to visit a friend. And that means, once more, I'm super excited that I get to be single dad for the weekend. So it's me and the Hankster, my 4-year-old son. And we have an exciting weekend planned of probably shitty weather, but that's okay. We're still going to have a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun, for real. And so I try my best to make sure that when I'm with my son that I'm bad at it. Man, I got to tell you, this thing's the worst. I'll be sitting there watching a movie with him, then all of a sudden I find myself involved in some Twitter spat. I'm not paying attention to my son, so I'm putting this shit away this weekend. So I'm not going to be following the news much. I'll probably do like a short, like Saturday, Sunday morning. One of them will probably be about John Cena turning heel. Maybe another one will be about, because I'm trying to put a short up every day to keep with the algorithm to show that I could do it. So I'm trying to put shorts up every day at 2 p.m. Eastern time. My editor, Black Elk's trying to put a video up at least every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern time. So I might put some videos up there, but there ain't going to be no, Less Than Three, Sparky. I certainly will hit you up, man, for sure. We'll have to bullshit sometime anyways. You should come on the show. We could debate about U.S. hostages. I do agree with you with the U.S. hostages, though. That's why I don't want to send money to Ukraine. They killed an American named Gonzalo Lira. So, anywho, that's probably my plan for the weekend. So I'm going to go downstairs and spend some time. Black Elk's doing a phenomenal job. And I'd love to give a shout out to him again. Listen, and I don't know, Black Elk watches these. So I don't know if he's watching right now. But here's the deal with Black Elk. Black Elk volunteered to edit for me because he likes my show and he wanted practice as an editor. But the goal is that he inevitably, hopefully, gets to work with a bigger streamer. Now, maybe that bigger streamer is me. Maybe all of a sudden I blow up and I'm making $10,000 a month. Right? It's a possibility. But maybe it's not me. Maybe he gets on with someone that's bigger, an Alex Stein, a Steven Crowder, someone like that. Maybe one of you will start a channel and you'll get way bigger and you'll need an editor. So even if you're not bigger, if you need any sort of editing done or anything like that, consider hitting up my friend Black Elk. You could DM me. You could DM Black Elk. I'll get you in contact with him if you just DM me. He's going to be looking to have some sort of payment, obviously, because at this point, like us all, we're all trying to make ends meet. Damn you, Trump, the price of eggs. Rah! So, but if you know anyone that needs an editor that's seriously looking for one, that's willing to pay some money, hit me up. I'll get in touch with Black Elk. If they steal Black Elk from me because they could pay significant money and he's going to go there and work full time, that's great too. That's the agreement that me and Black Elk have. So I wish him the best. I think he's doing a phenomenal job. Phenomenal. So his thumbnails are fantastic. His intros that he's setting are fantastic. He's working on a bunch of other things. Like he does little things like the video that got me banned from Twitch where Connor's yelling homophobic slurs the whole time. Black Elk's little sense of humor was as he's beeping them out, he's putting British cigarettes in Connor's mouth, over his mouth every time he says it. It's pretty funny. It's some funny shit. Black Elk, quite a sense of humor there. So yeah, he's doing well. So we'll be back tomorrow night with Grid Motorsports. Should be a lot of fun. Until then, I hope you guys have a great time. And I don't have any intros or outros set up yet, so enjoy this banner of me while my theme song plays. Thanks so much, everyone. As always, have a good one.